Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Yes, I am only going to ever be dressed like this ever again. I love it. That's all really. So in today's video we are going to be talking about Kai. Grease 2.0 essentially at this stage. I know that Blair White recently came out of a video discussing Kai, and I know that Repsion's done a video on Kai. And I was considering doing one on Kai for a while because it is not right that Anision is getting all of the blame and Kai is kind of being skipped over because they were a victim of Anision and now have become, well, an accomplice. Really though, the reason that Anision gets more attention than Kai is because his meltdowns are kind of funny in like a psychotic train wreck kind of way, whereas Kai is just incredibly boring. As a person, I mean. But let's do a video on it, together, you and I. I've been kept up to speed with the Chris Hansen interviews. I've been watching them as they come out. And there were some things that were discussed regarding Kai that I thought were very interesting, so we can talk about that. Mainly, that's the reason for this video. And views. So if we must start at the beginning, the persona of Cool Guy Kai, if that is their real name, is a bit tragic, but I don't want you to give them sympathy. I can say that it is tragic what's happened, but still want someone to be held accountable for all of their actions and the wrongdoings they've done to other people. You know, on a personal level, what kind of fascinates me about the Kai aspect of the Grease and Greaser duo is, I guess what interests me is the idea that would Kai have turned out this way had they never have met Anision? When I say it's tragic, I mean it in that sense. Because in all likelihood, they probably would have turned into a different person had they not been entrapped in Grease's spiderweb from such an early age. It's like the person that Kai is almost completely unnecessary. It was unneeded. I don't know if that makes sense. Basically, in today's video, you can just listen to me and all my really important opinions. Recently, Anision has been wilding and is pretending that he and Kai are getting a divorce because he wants attention or something. But let's talk about the space prince formerly known as Lanybot. Let's start from the beginning. Happy New Year to the onions. Also, for disclaimer purposes, I'm saying alleged throughout this video. I'm going to say alleged once and then we'll just leave it there, so I don't have to keep checking myself. As if Greg's going to try and fucking sue me anyway. Probably doesn't even know where the United Kingdom is. So, since meeting Greg, Kai has gone from the abused into the abuser, allegedly. They have been groomed into becoming the Mini Grease 2.0. Mini Grease 2, Electric Boogaloo, if you will. However, they are now a grown adult. They are in their early 20s and thus should be held accountable for everything that they've done. You have to take responsibility for your own life after a certain age. I think that's fair to say. So at the very beginning, Kai went by the name Taylor and identified as a girl. They are biologically female, and they were a super fan of Anision. They found Anision through Shane Dawson. I hate how I know this. I fucking hate how I know this. Imagine if the trivia I knew about the Grease couple was instead about world facts. I would win Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Instead, I'm just making bloody YouTube videos on some idiots in the States. At some point after Adrian, one of Anision's former girlfriends, dumped Anision, and after he was done with Shiloh, Taylor came into the picture. Now this is interesting to note, and I think it gets mentioned in videos but kind of glazed over a little bit. But Anision admitted this in one of his own videos, that when he first met Taylor's father said, nice try, no, he said,
me sitting across the table from him, and he's probably going to threaten to sue me for this video. He's already threatened to sue me before, but that's fine. I'm allowed to tell stories about people without using faces or names, etc. But he was being hard on me for my age gap with Lainey, and I had a 9-year age gap with Lainey. And he told me to come back in 10 years, like not till Lainey was 25, to date Lainey. And I was just like thinking, how much power does this guy think he has?
Now, I was never the best at maths, but what is 25 minus 10? Oh yeah, gross and illegal. The official timeline is that Greg and Lainey, /Taylor/Kai, had been talking from the ages of Greg was in his early 20s and Lainey was 15, 16, and they officially got together when they were 17. I don't personally know where this official timeline has come from, because if it's come from the grog himself, I don't trust anything that comes out of his greasy gob. He's not exactly the paragon of honesty that he thinks he is, and neither is Taylor for that matter. Now, at the time when Kai and Onision first got together, people online at the time did warn or try to warn Kai about Onision and about all the drama that he went through with Shiloh and Adrian, but Kai didn't listen because, of course, Kai wasn't going to listen. They were a teenager. So we can't really hold that against them. How many teenagers are there out there who fancy a little bit of a bad boy and won't listen to people who know better telling them otherwise? It's a common enough thing that happens because teenagers generally think they know everything. We've all been there. I've certainly been there. I'm still there. I do know everything. But the problem here is Onision isn't a bad boy. Onision is a nitwit and an abuser. I say nitwit because I don't want to get censored by YouTube, like creator on creator harassment. They were a teenager and they were starstruck. The fact that Onision had to pick a fan, a super fan who was so starstruck by their very existence, to be his spouse is so incredibly insecure. It's an abuse of power, but it's completely insecure. As in, how fragile is your ego that you need someone to be constantly starstruck around you? Grow up. This isn't meant to be an Onision bashing video because I've done a million of those, but it's too easy. So before Onision got with Taylor, he had an ex-girlfriend who went by the name of Adrian. They dated for about a month or two. It wasn't very long. It was just after he broke up with Shiloh the first time, or Shiloh broke up with him, either one. But what was interesting about the Adrian and Grog dynamic is that Grog met his match in that Adrian wasn't a teenager, she was a fucking adult. Therefore, he found it much more difficult to manipulate her, and thus that's why the relationship was so short-lived. There's an email called The Letter. You can just Google it. Google Adrian Onision The Letter. It was an email from Adrian to someone else and it was leaked. And if you have it's very long, but if you have a spare half hour, I would really advise reading it because you really get to see just how much of a maniac Onision is. And you have to remember they only knew each other for 1 month, give or take. When they had just started talking, Onision immediately demanded that Adrian be on Skype all the time and constantly be in contact with him, and would talk about how he was just so in love with her and she wasn't fighting for love and they'd only known each other for about 2 days. And already he was talking about, oh, she should just quit her job and, move her cats halfway across the country to live with him and work with him, when they'd only been speaking for a few days. Like, they hadn't even met at this stage and he was doing all of that. Adrian, a grown woman, I think she was around 24 or 25 when this happened, fell for it a little bit, but managed to get out before there was any long-term lasting damage, because they only went out with each other for a month or 6 weeks. I think this is worth mentioning just because if a person in their mid-20s had difficulty dealing with Onision's insane narcissism, and if you've ever met a true narcissist, they're incredibly difficult to deal with whatever your age. I just think how on earth would a 15 to 16-year-old be able to deal with this type of person, and come out in one piece? They wouldn't be able to. Thus, in that regard, it is tragic that Lainey met Onision. So back to Lainey at the time and Greg. They meet, Greg whisks her away. They got engaged, and at first Lainey's parents didn't know about it. There was a lot of sneaking around because her father wasn't supportive of this relationship, because any fucking adult that meets Onision, why would you be supportive of it? Anyway, they end up getting married and Lainey gets pregnant pretty quickly. Or Gregnant. So I watched the Chris Hansen interviews. The one with Billy was quite interesting. Billy admitted to Chris Hansen that when she was living in the McMansion, Greg would pit everyone against each other because he loves to be the focal point of attention and drama constantly. He thrives off it. He's a narcissist. So he would say to Lainey, oh, Billy said this about you. And then he would say to Billy, oh, Lainey said this about you. And oh my god, I feel so pathetic even saying those words, and I'm not the person that fucking did it.
There'd be times where he would tell me that Kai was upset with me and tell Kai that I was upset with him. So then we wouldn't talk and we'd get into this really awkward thing where we're avoiding each other. Then he would try to talk to us separately and sometimes it would be like about things that we didn't even like say or things that were worded differently. He would like reword them to make it like seem worse. And me and Kai had caught on to it at one point but it got to the point where we were both in the car and I was like, so like, why are you like mad at me? And she was like, or he's like, I'm not mad at you. Like Greg told me that you were like, mad at me. And it just became this like, oh, so we're both not mad at each other. And there was literally no problem.
A grown-ass man in his 30s was pitting young women, one of which who was a teenager at the time, against each other because he's insecure about his penis size or something. This is interesting to note because it just shows how thoroughly stuck up Onision's ass Kai is. Kai, after being married to Onision for so long, is fully aware of his behaviour, Onision's behaviour that is, and what he gets up to and how manipulative he is. And this is where Kai stopped being a victim, in my eyes. Kai could be presented with 100% factual proof, facts and logic, evidence that Onision is the worst, and Kai will still stick with him because they are a level 500 doormat. They are a level 5 Stockholm syndrome. They only exist as part of Greg's shadow. I watched the Chris Hansen interview with Shiloh and there were some interesting things said in that which I think directly relates to Kai, which we're going to get into in a second, right now.
And the first pornography that he ever showed me was an anime character getting raped. Then he showed me some other pornography that was cartoon based. And the girls were very flat chested, very small, very young looking.
Shiloh recapped her tumultuous relationship with Grog and gave out some alarming details, like he would expect sex up to 8 times a day, and because of this, she had frequent UTIs or urinary tract infections.
It was all the time. It was from the very beginning. We had sex about 8 times a day sometimes. I was getting frequent UTIs and in pain a lot. I thought that was normal too. This was my first sex life per se. So I just thought this is what's normal. This is how adults do things.
He was also way too rough, considering she was 17 at the time and new to sex and sexual experiences. It wasn't appropriate how rough he was. Like, to the point of hurting her and choking her so she couldn't breathe. Like, pulling her head so far back that she actually couldn't breathe. And that he whacks off to hentai all the time.
He was very aggressive. And, like, I'm not one to kink shame at all. But at that time and at that age, how hard he was pulling my hair back, I could not breathe. Calling me the B word, calling me a slut, or while we were having sex. Very aggressive, very aggressive.
He would also mentally abuse Shiloh, and he would say things like, I find small Asian petite women attractive, you're too fat, you should lose weight, I can't pick you up, you're overweight, you should lose weight. To a teenage girl.
We were having sex. And afterwards, he had taken me into the shower. And can't remember how it came about, but he had told me that he was into small-bodied Asian women, and that wasn't me, and that he couldn't pick me up while we were being intimate, so I had to lose weight, that I was clinically obese for my height. I'm 5 foot, and I think I was like 135 pounds.
Onision also ended up shaving her head during sex to dominate her, and this is known as defeminization.
There was a point when he shaved your head?
Yes. He was having sex with me, and he told me, I want you to shave your head.
In the middle of this intimate moment.
In the middle of sex, yeah. And so he took me off into the bathroom, and he shaved my head in the tub, and then continued to have sex.
We've heard stories about him shaving girls' heads. Did he ever do that to you?
No, but he wanted to.
I think this is all worth mentioning because when Lainey and Greg initially got together, when Lainey was still Lainey, I hate that I have to keep fucking saying that, it's just so confusing. When they first got together, some screenshots of a leaked AIM or MSN conversation between Lainey and someone else got leaked online, in which Lainey was saying things like, I just don't feel good enough for him. I've only eaten 100 calories today. I'm trying to lose so much weight. Hey, it's me from the future editing. So those screenshots I was talking about, I can't find them anywhere, and I've been looking for a long time, but they 100% definitely exist. I believe I first saw them on like some anti-Anision Tumblr blogs because they're a thing and they're pretty big, but I've been scrolling through so many screenshots that I can't find them. They definitely exist, but you're gonna have to take my word for it, I'm afraid. And since being with Grog, Lainey's weight loss is noticeable. Kai on Kai's channel put up a mukbang, food show eating video once, and it's literally just 10 minutes of Kai not eating any of the food and spitting it out like a child.
I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, and this, I don't wanna.
An adult, ladies and gentlemen. Just eat it.
I hate it.
That was like the cringiest way you could have possibly... It's still cringy. The cringe isn't stopping. Use your lips, you little lizard person. Who reacts like that to a blueberry?
Would it be bad if I ate this whole thing?
Would it be bad if you ate the entire... You would probably lose weight by eating an entire vegan cookie.
I don't think any of this is coincidental when you take into consideration how he would treat Shiloh.
I'm not turning it on, I'm just demonstrating.
Ow, Jesus. What the
You like it.
Not in this context.
I'm gonna pull your hair again, and you're gonna like it.
You can't tell me what I will and will not like. Bitch, that's my ear. Back there, do you have to fade it? Is that how you do the back?
You see?
Jesus, you're aggressive today.
Let me take a look. You're not done. I'm just checking my stuff.
You're like yanking me around.
Well, you are who you are, and sometimes you just like manhandle your husband.
I accept it.
I mentioned defeminization, what he would do to Shiloh. Greg has rules that people must obey when in his household. Things like no bras, don't talk to guys, he has all your passwords, baggy shirts, and a lack of makeup. You can even see in some of his videos when Billy was staying at the house with him and Kai, Billy started wearing baggy shirts and not wearing any makeup, and if you follow any of Billy's socials, you will see that she's really into doing her makeup. Basically, Greg treats his significant others as though they are cult members and they have to follow his rules, and he did try to create a cult when he was a teenager. I think most of us know that. But if you don't know that, it was called Secessia or Secessia, or I don't fucking know. But yeah, motherfucker tried to go all Jim Jonestown on us and create a cult. Now, this is an incredibly loaded and almost taboo thing for me to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. There are certainly parallels popping up with all of Grog's longer term partners. Even in the earlier videos he did with Sky would wear baggy clothes and not wear any makeup. This whole thing is called defeminization, and I believe the point of it is to kind of make your partner unfeminine or like not attractive to feminine standards so that they're easier to control. If I've got that wrong, then I do apologize for that. That's the vibe I've gotten from him doing that. I'm not out here trying to invalidate anyone's identity, but this is just, there are parallels, there are patterns going on if you just open your eyes and see the similarities between his relationships. That's all I'm going to say about that. Have fun in the comments. So Kai got pregnant with Grog's first child, and after that came out as bisexual and then was encouraged by James Gregory to explore their bisexuality and get a girlfriend. Experimentation is obviously very normal for humans, for young people, for people in their early 20s or late teens. Experimentation is very normal, like with your sexuality, but the Grease Lord is a puppet master. Kai even admitted themselves on Twitter that they were pushed into getting a girlfriend, so Billy comes along and then that whole clusterfuck happened, wherein both Kai and Greg gaslighted the shit out of Billy just for existing.
Whenever that whole situation happened, it flipped on me somehow. And Kai blamed me entirely for the whole thing that happened, and then Greg blamed me for the whole thing that happened. So it, like, the whole thing just became my fault.
And I think this is the point in time where Kai comes out of the manipulation, or most of it, and becomes a monster in their own right. Because at this time, Kai knew Sarah. Sarah was underage. Kai sent inappropriate pictures to Sarah.
I just think of like this one very specific thing where I like walked upstairs and like Kai was just completely naked in the tub, and Sarah was just like sitting on this like high chair, like pretty close, clearly like underage, with someone that they had a crush on.
And after Billy left the Trinity, once and for all, Kai was the one looking for other teenagers to get involved in this polyamorous clusterfuck. On Chris Hansen this week, there was someone referred to only as Adam, who was a female to male, transgender, and they were in contact with Kai around about this time, and Kai pushed them into taking and sending pictures of themselves, and they weren't comfortable with that.
You sent a picture at Kai's request to Kai of you topless.
Yes, because I felt bad because he made me feel like, he kind of made me feel bad. He was like, if you really liked me, you would do this. He's like, I promise nobody else would see it. Don't worry about it.
If you really liked me, you would send me a topless photo.
Yes, because he's like, I'll send you a photo if you send me a photo.
And did Kai send you a topless photo as well?
Yes, but he did the same thing I did where he scribbled it out.
This person was being groomed to be another member of the Trinity.
He never contacted me like one-on-one, but there was points like in the beginning, like the first month, Kai did ask me that question. He's like, how would you feel if you were in a relationship with both of us?
And as such, they had a sort of relationship with Kai, and they told Kai lots of private information, which Kai then leaked in a live stream because Kai is a bully.
He told his fan base, and he kind of...
Wait. So you shared this information with Kai, and Kai told the fan base?
At first, he did it as like an accident. Like when I first appeared in one of his videos, he said, "Oh, I love your wig." When I told him, "Please don't say it's a wig," I'm very sensitive about that. He still said, "Oh, I love your wig." He's like, "Is that a wig?" "Oh, I don't know. It's so vivid and white." And like I quickly defended myself. I was like, "No, that's not a wig. That's my actual hair and stuff." And then he continued to like tell people that, and his fan base was like, "Why don't you just admit you wore a wig?" And I'm like, being 17 and being bold, it's like hard because you're very insecure about your like looks.
Like, Kai is genuinely a mini Greg, and it's kind of gross and disgusting. Actually, as a side note, Kai used to do these live streams, and the whole live stream would just be them like squinting at the chat because they don't put on their fucking glasses, and being so passive aggressive to any question asked. I was going to get into this at the end of the video, and I will in a bit more detail, but I've never fucking understood why people like Kai, because Kai just seems like just such a... I'm getting mad thinking about it. Like, you literally only have followers because of your famous husband, and they would just treat their followers with just such disregard all the time. It really pissed me off. Kai got about 300,000 followers on their YouTube account, I think. It's not as if you got to that position because you worked hard. No, you were simply in the right place at the wrong time for Greg. Anyway, moving on. This person said that Kai values Onision and Onisia's opinions higher than anyone else, and values Onision more than they value their own children. This is just what this Adam person said. I can't say anything either way, because we just don't know. We simply don't know, and it's pure conjecture on anyone's part. However, the fact that Kai is still with Onision after all of this, and they have 2 kids together, is alarming. Imagine being a child and seeing your father act fucking psychotic all of the time, screaming, chucking stuff over himself, just being a general nightmare. And then imagine your biological mother not doing a damn thing about it and not taking you out of that situation. It's not a healthy environment for a child to grow up in. Especially during the developing years, shit sticks with children. My sympathy for Kai evaporated the moment they decided to stay with Greg, the first time that Greg cheated on them with Billy. Because when that happened, Kai left temporarily for all of like 20 minutes, no, like 24 hours. And Anision was willing to sign over the parental rights to his only child at the time, all over to Kai, so he could fuck off with an 18-year-old. He didn't give a fuck. Billy was actually the one to be like, no, this isn't right. Stay with your child and the mother of your fucking children, your wife. And Kai went back to Greg. Remember that time, that weird time where everyone was calling Greg a cuck because Greg was like, I'm getting my wife to have a girlfriend. Greg was never the cuck. Kai has always been the cuck in this situation. The real cuck was Kai all along. Imagine having such little self-respect for yourself, and there's a fucking child in the picture as well. Someone said in one of the Chris Hansen interviews, and I can't remember who said it or which interview it was, so I'm sorry, but someone definitely said that Kai themselves has admitted they worry about the development of their own children because their children are going to see what Greg is like and the way Greg treats women. And as explained from the thing I said about Billy, Kai is fully aware of Anision's terrible treatment towards women, yet is enabling that behaviour by staying with him and risking the future development, the personal development of their children. If you admit you worry about this, then take your children and go, and just go back to your family and get some fucking therapy. You have a responsibility that is bigger than yourself because you're the one that decided to bring sentient life, innocent sentient life, into this existence just because Greg hates wearing condoms. I hate how I know that. How the fuck do I know that? I hate that I'm about to say the following, but it needs to be said. We all know about Anision's attraction to young women and teenagers. They have a daughter together. What do you think is going to happen when their daughter comes to the age that their daughter wants their friends to stay over for sleepovers? Let's not be stupid or naive here. Anision and Kai pretended to be parental figureheads to Sarah when she was 15 to 16, had her live with them, only to fuck her the moment it was legal, the moment she turned 18. I'm not being alarmist or ridiculous when I say, if Kai doesn't leave and take those bloody children out of that situation, what the hell is going to happen when their daughter is of the age that her female friends want to start staying over at sleepovers? For so long, Kai stood by and enabled all of Anision's terrible fucking opinions by saying, well, they aren't my opinions, it's not my problem, I don't control him. Yet you married him. Maybe you didn't know what you're getting into actually in hindsight. You married the guy, and now you are joining in on the hunt to supply him fresh teenagers. It's so messed up on so many levels. On a bit more of a catty and bitchy note, just because that all got heavy for a bit, so we need a bit of light comic relief. I've never understood the fandom for Kai. It makes no fucking sense. Greg, I get it. I understand because 10 years ago he had this big emo hair and he did videos that were aimed towards teenagers talking about body image issues and whatnot, and he has this very large personality. It's a fucking idiotic personality and he's dumber than a bag of rocks. It's pretty dumb, right? He's incredibly dumb, but he is very loud, and I get why teenage girls were drawn to his persona. I mean, I also think it's pretty obvious that he deliberately cultivated that type of persona to draw in teenage girls, but it's neither here nor there for this point that I'm about to get onto. Kai, meanwhile, has the personality of a wet sponge. I don't get it. Kai literally only has followers because they are the spouse of Anision. What a memorable claim to fame that is. Well done, congratulations, you've done nothing. Any text message interaction that has been leaked between Kai and whoever, I've shown them in previous videos on this channel. Just shameless self-plug. Go watch my previous videos and check out the interactions between Kai and anyone. They are the most bland, vanilla. It baffles me. Whenever Greg used to love bomb Kai because like he'd fucked up or done something wrong, he'd always tweet out being like, Kai is the most amazing person ever. Where? Literally where? I have never seen any personality come from Kai ever apart from... What was that? Oh. No, don't talk to me on this, even though I'm live streaming and that's the point of live streaming. I'm just going to sit here and squint at the computer. That is the depth of personality with Kai. I guess I want to end this by saying what fascinates me about the Kai aspect is the fact that their life changed for the worse the moment they met Anision, and they met Anision at such a young age. And I wonder what their life would have been like had they never met Anision. Because they exchanged nudes with an underage Sarah, the FBI have been informed and is investigating this because it is child pornography, right? There's something almost deeply ironic about the fact that Anision has always been so careful to dodge around the laws to make sure that he never broke the law in any way. Yet, his Groggle 2.0 has fucked up and is the one being investigated by the FBI. I think the FBI are investigating Anision for other stuff, but there's something quite ironic about that. Like, the monster that Anision helped create fucked up. So, to recap, they're being investigated by the FBI. Anision's going mental from his dwindling fame and, you know, the looming inevitability of the shit that's about to hit the fan, the proverbial fan, as it were. And they are both under a mountain of debt from Anision's complete idiocy. I wonder if they have enough self-awareness to regret meeting Anision, or I wonder truly, after all this time, if they are still lodged firmly right up his arsehole as Greg's #1 super fan. Well, that's all. That was my tirade against Kai, I guess. If you enjoyed this video, do remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!